Hello, good morning. I have some 10 minutes before I have to go to work. And so, it's about talking about it every day as much as I can, right? And so, I'm making a video right now, right? I'm not going to read from the novel, right? I'm just going to take these minutes, right, to talk about the condition, what's occurring, right? How dangerous it is, how evil it has become, right? And how now it is incumbent upon me, right, to do everything that I can to protect myself, right? So we suppose that reality, right, is a material simulation of a nobler spiritual truth, right? That mind, consciousness, right, exists, right, forever at rest, unilaterally in every cubic centimeter of space, right? Right? Diffused within, right, the divine, perfectly constructed hologram of quantum potential, right? And so, right, God the Father breathes, right, pushes himself through his knowing, which mutates it into a corrupted material shadow of its idealized form. This is how the world works, right? This is the way that everything comes into being, right? Is this some sort of reductionist, materialistic, like scientifically provable idea? Perhaps I have some sketches that I could show you, but largely, no. It's a way of knowing in your heart, right? It is the recognition of the mystery, right? It is the recognition that holy books, right, that they derive from some psychological necessity within man to codify his experiences, right? To understand his relationship in the world, right? God made man in his image because man made God in his image, right? This is, right? That's what it actually is, right? And so the descent of man out of paradise, right, out of the Garden of Eden, right, the eating from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right, has nothing to do with good and bad, right? Because it does not kill you, right? The serpent, it will not kill you. You will be like God, right? That ignorance is bliss, right? That there was a time where some sort of physiological thing that resembled us very closely roamed the endless forest, right? And it made its spears and it chased the bears, right? All these things, right? But then at some point, man began to look up, man began to record, right, the locations of the celestial bodies, right? They began to consider that perhaps what's occurring down here is a result of the things that are going on up there, right? And by degrees, right, we've gotten to where we are now, right? So, right, religion is not intended to be a dogmatic condition, right? It doesn't have to be a frightful thing. It doesn't have to be a fearful thing, right? These are all ignorant, right, suppositions, right, espoused by people with adolescent levels of understanding, right? That there is no book without author, right? That there is no painting without painter, right? And so inevitably, again, I've mentioned it before, right? You always have to draw the line in the sand and say which came first, right? Chicken or the egg, right? Regarding mind versus motion, right? Is it equally valid intellectually, right? That mind is a static byproduct of motion. That motion came first, and then memory, right, just kind of sort of cascades out forever, right? There's a quantum chaos there that shines on the reasoning in my soul in some way. But, nah, can't be true. It's lazy. Right? So, as this pertains to Quentin, right, as this pertains to the movie critic, right, in these last 5 minutes before I have to go to work, right, It relates by virtue, right, of the fact that if mind, right, is the engine that drives all of life, right, if we say that, oh, everything is an intellectual, right, the immortality of the soul, right, the Phaedo, Plato, right, the death of Socrates, right, all these things, the immortality of the soul, right, then by understanding that, right, you know that your conscious awareness, right, permeates all of space, right, and through meditation, right, through prayer, often, right, you commune, right, with deity, right, which is not a creature, right, God is not a creature in creation, right, it is an abstract intellectual principle, right, right, it is the seed, right, it is the archetypal seed, right, it is the breath, right, right, the friction of motion against the static quantum hologram, right, every cubic centimeter of space has within it, as a potential quantum wave field, right, the potential for all manifested reality, on all convocations, all stratas, right, from granite to hydrogen, right, heavier, right, plutonium, right, lighter, right, and so through, right, motion against itself, right, through the collapsing, right, through thought, right, it engenders electric resistance, right, which becomes so dense, right, it can no longer remain inert space, right, and so the specific dihedral, right, that, right, the conscious effort, right, puts upon the hologram is how we see the reflected shadow materialed, right, measurable condition that we call reality on this side, right? So it's always a give and take. It's always it's stillness and it's motion, right? Like Walter Russell, the continuous two-way universe, right? Right? That everything exists perpetually at rest. That God is rest, right? It says, be still. More than anything else in the Bible, it's over 50 times. It's repeated, right? Be still and know that I am God. It's a really famous piece of scripture. I can't remember where it's from, right? This is the engine, right? And so when you're still, right, you can bring your consciousness, your conscious awareness out, right? You can pull it in, right? It can involute on itself, right? And you will achieve, a rhapsodic, right, revelatory connection with divinity, right? And so you can use that, right, to fortify yourself, right, to fortify the heart, right, be open-hearted, right, be good in the world, do good works, right, and you can, right, you can also manipulate and destroy with it far easier, right, and so now, right, that's the point, that's what we're talking about. I have to go to work. God bless you all. I'll talk to you later today.